We're still loading.
I get those goosebumps every time, yeah, 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. I'm hard to make everything feel fine. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the high, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, we can throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mags. Yes, sir.
Good evening, all, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC away days. The big match is back again, yeah, we're going to talk about it. We've got the guest in the green room. The boys are here. How are we this evening, lads?
Not too bad. Not too bad with me, Pete. Thursday. Power is still on, so that is always a good sign here in this week. But yeah, no, looking forward to a long weekend in Ireland, bank holiday on Monday, and also looking forward to the game. A game, hopefully, I'll be able to see this time because the power is down. But Chris, how are you?
And Daz, you must also be looking forward to the transfer deadline day, surely.
I am, yeah, because I could be live all day if Anthony wants to drop, but I could be waiting. I think it's safe to go and do something that day.
yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it? But yeah, no, I'm good, mate. Busy day in work. But yeah, we're nearly at the weekends, aren't we, boys? Nearly at the weekends, and really, always a pleasure having Emilio on. So we've been really looking forward to this. And apologies in advance, Emilio, but we really need this win, mate. We've got to win. We've got to win at the weekends. But great to have him back on, and great to obviously talk all things Newcastle, Fulham. But Pete, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I've not been great today. I wish I'd have had a day of work, but I've been in bed pretty much all day. Yeah, just sick this morning. Literally about to leave work, and then was just sick, and I have been pretty much all day. So I'm going to see how we get on tonight, and then just probably go back to bed. To be honest with you, but look, we're here, and we're here to talk football. And just before we bring Emilio out, I think it's only right to mention Miguel Almiron, who has made his move permanent. It's been confirmed by Atlanta United and also Newcastle United, which both clubs have really kind of gone out their way to announce this deal and make a little bit of a fanfare of it to show their appreciations on either side of Miguel Almiron, the fact that he's moved. But it's been confirmed. Rumors to be from Ben Jacobs, $10 million with $4 million add-on. So effectively, I think it works out to about 11.2 million pounds.
That's Foxy.
Foxy.
Yeah, you'll know.
But boys, just really quick, just a quick word on Miguel Almiron. Now we know it's confirmed. We kind of knew it was coming, but what are our thoughts about that deal being done?
For me, yeah, I just remember when Miggy arrived, a Rafa signing, and yeah, speaking the same language. Then Rafa disappearing, obviously as well. Then in the Mike Ashley days, he did okay for us for a while. Then Eddie Howe came in. He was I remember him kind of more of an impact player, sitting on the bench a lot. But then that wonder season he had with us. That patch he went through, and he was waiting for it to run out, but it never did. He kept going. That was his major highlight for us. Always playing with a smile on his face, always gave 100%, always chasing down everything. Is what I'll always remember for. And there's no such thing as the lost cause. In this transfer window, and towards the end of it, he'd be still chasing things down. So that's the kind of attitude we kind of like. No, fair play to him. For me though, I've said for a while, I think he needed to move on just for himself. So I would have liked if he had left earlier. I think he could have tried something in Spain and see how he got on in La Liga. But look, it's a good deal for him. He takes his family back to Atlanta, and all the best to him. And he'll go with our blessing. Me.
Chris, your thoughts on Miggy now it's all confirmed?
Similar to Daz, thank him for his time. I feel like it's probably 12 months too late, maybe 18 months too late, you could argue. But looking back now, the deal's done. Thank him for his time. He's done a lot for the club, and I think as well. Briefly touched on what Daz mentioned. I don't actually recall, looking back over time, I don't think I could name another player that puts in the effort and work rate that Miggy does. I can't actually think of one who springs to mind who puts in more effort than Miggy. So for that, we always, we have to be thankful. But I think it's right that he moved on. I think it's great he's got his move back to his, his original club. So I'm pleased for him, pleased for his family. And we'll probably always look back fondly, particularly on that Champions League qualification season, and obviously the first Champions League game in 20 years. So we'll look back on that fondly. But good luck to him. And I think it's sad to see him go, but it was time to go as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're all in agreement there. Time for Miggy to go, but it's a case of. Someone put it quite nice on socials earlier, is that he was very much the established workhorse of the era of Newcastle United. And it almost kind of stemmed from Rafa Benitez. He brought that workman-like attitude into our team, which has then transpired into what Eddie Howe's done. And I think he sort of epitomizes that. But ultimately, we want technicians coming in. We want those players that have got that final ball, that have got that end product. And I think that's where we're moving to now. It's just a natural transition. But as you boys have both said, we thank him for his time at Newcastle, and we all move on. And hopefully we do. Now, we may not get any transfers in this window, but hopefully we'll see a replacement that's worthy coming in the summer. That's for sure. But look, that's the transfer news for today, sort of out the way. Let's get down to football, boys. And the best way we do that is by getting on our guest, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome him back. Always is. Welcome back, Emilio from the Fulham Pulse. So let's get him in.
Welcome, Emilio.
Hello, guys. Welcome back. It's always nice to be on this show. I hope you get better soon, Pete. I think we've all had this bug going around. I had it last month, just before Christmas. It's nasty, to be honest. So just rest up. Don't watch the game on Saturday. Commiserate if Newcastle defeat.
Emilio, I think I'm going to need this game on Saturday. I hope I'm going to need it because I need to feel better. And I'm hoping that game at 3:00 is going to make me feel better. But Emilio, it's a pleasure to have you back, of course, on the channel. And let's get down to it. I mean, it's been a very good season for you, from certainly from my perspective, and the lads' perspectives we'll get as well. But what have you made of this season under Marco Silva, and what's been the difference between this season and other seasons?
I think a bit of consistency. We're harder to beat this season. I think that's the key thing. So I think we've lost as many games as you guys have done all season. So I think we've added strength in the summer. There's some shrewd signings. We're not going to spend millions. That's the reality. And I think we'll talk about transfer windows probably later in the show, but I'm not expecting many signings in the next 24 hours either. So our squad's not the biggest on paper. There's always a bit of shrewdity in terms of the owners trying to pick and choose the right players, but we've now got a foundation there that the team is harder to beat. but we're still lacking in some key areas, like in front of goal, maybe clean sheets. We're not maybe keeping as many clean sheets as I would like. That's a weakness of this team at the moment, but it's progress. Every year we're sort of making iterative progress. This is what, third consecutive year in the Premier League. We did well a couple of years ago. First year we finished 10th. Last season, we lost a bit of steam. Second half of the season, injuries, lack of depth, the usual problem, and we fell away to the last 2 or 3 months. But this year, hopefully, we've got a little bit more strength in depth. We've got more backup in key positions, and again, it's just progress. We're not going to get into the Champions League overnight. It's going to take time. You guys took years of investment to gradually transition, move forward, change of coach, change of system. It's going to take time. It's an investment in the future. But I think we are where I expected us to be. I thought we finished mid-table, maybe top 9, top 10. But we're starting to see the lack of depth of the squad. The injuries are kicking in. We're getting draws instead of wins. So that's the progress from last year, where we were losing games, we're drawing. Where we were drawing, we're winning. So it's a slow transition, but I think Fulham fans should be happy where we are. We always want the club to do better, but mid-table in probably the hardest league in the world, we shouldn't really complain. I'm more than happy, more than delighted. There's an FA Cup, it's in the FA Cup, so hopefully a bit of a cup run wouldn't go amiss. But I think we're just generally more harder to beat, and we've got more cover in all those positions. But there's certain key areas I think we're still a bit light, and we're seeing that with all the injuries and maybe the lack of conversion of goals up front, which is hitting us hard at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And just look at the league. 10th in the table, 33 points on the board. You had a formidable home form at the beginning of the season. We were, we were a result of that in the last fixture where you beat us. It's 3-1 in the end, but it was a lot more comfortable than that. Saying that as an opposition fan, but you're only 7 points off European football, 7 points off 6th place where Chelsea currently are. Have you guys got aspirations of Europe? Do you think you're capable of pushing for Europe this season? Is that a reality for you?
But 6 weeks ago, it was possibly more reality. At the beginning, we just said we had a really tough set of fixtures, but we went unbeaten. Away to Liverpool, away to Tottenham, home to Arsenal. But then the games you'd expect to win were only drawing. That was a problem. I think the likes of yourself, Forest, you pushed on, so you're losing some games, but you're also winning. Look at Forest; they went through this incredible run, winning games. Maybe you'd argue that they should have drawn or lost, but they found a way of winning those games. Whereas we found a way of drawing those games. Albeit a good result on paper. It'll be in the way we play. We should have really finished those games off. Tottenham away, Arsenal home, Liverpool away. We should have got 9 points. We only got 3, albeit 3 draws. That's progress from last season, but it's disappointing when a draw should have been 3 points, and that's where we're not killing games off. So overall, I don't think we're ready for Europe. I'd rather we don't go into Europe. I think it's just that steady progress. Marcus Silva's got a project here at the club, and the owners need to back him, because I worry that he's on other teams' radar to go at the end of the summer, and if he doesn't get the financial backing to take this club forward to the next level next season, he's going to say, well, actually, I've taken this club as far as I can. He may walk. He's not going to get his way. He will bugger off somewhere else, and I do worry about that. So I don't know. There's a sense I'm getting in my mind that he's getting a little bit frustrated with stuff. That actually we've known we've got a lack of depth in his squad. We need to get more reinforcements. Why have we waited till tomorrow to get some reinforcements? Again, it's reacting rather than being proactive. So he may get bored with that. If some other club comes knocking on the door, his head may turn, and don't be surprised he'll go to another club, whether it's in the Premier League or abroad. But there's that risk as a Fulham fan, and then things, is that journey over and we go regress? Who knows? We might get a better manager for all we know, but we're on the right trajectory. But Europe is probably a step too far this season. We're not ready for Europe. The last few weeks have shown that we're losing games when we were more consistent in December, but we weren't winning games in December when we should have done. That suggests we're not quite where we need to be yet to get into Europe, but mid-table, that's probably where we'll finish this season.
There's definitely still time. Marco Silva is more than capable of another run between now and the end of the season. But boys, I'll come to you, Daz, Chris, on Fulham. For me, massive game. It seems like we're saying massive game every week now from a Newcastle perspective, but another massive game with a team that, as Emilio said, they've lost the same amount of games as us, albeit drew quite a few more than us this season. We were impressed with how they played at the Cottage earlier on in the season when they beat us. What have you made, boys, of Fulham this season? And going into the game, what are you sort of individually sort of worrying about most coming up against Fulham.
Okay, for me, yeah, I suppose that defeat at the Cottage really kind of made me stand up and take notice of Fulham and kind of keep an eye on them a small bit then, and they've done really, really well. And I agree with the Emilio saying about Marco Silva. I remember he was linked to a move to a Saudi club at one stage, but I was surprised at the time that he didn't go. But he stayed around, and it's like he had something to prove then, and he's done really, really well. And I know when there was talk of, will Eddie Howe be around? Marco Silva's name did come into the picture, and his name is always kind of mentioned in kind of for top 10 teams or in or around like when there's a potential managerial vacancy or when one arises. So who has stood out for me? Look, Antoine Robinson. He's done well for them. A lot of assists. Who else? I can't remember now. I was looking at the squad earlier as some of the standout players. But I think for us though, we're at home. It's a game we must win. To keep our own run going, and we might be meeting them at the right time. We're on a bit of a run apart from the Bournemouth game, and they're coming off the defeat to Man United. So it'll be good. It'll be interesting. That's my thoughts. Chris, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I think Fulham are good sides, good solid sides. And do you know what, Emilio? I think I mentioned this at the time when you got him. I still think it was absolute robbery the way you picked up Raul Jimenez for such a small price. I thought that was insanity. Like, very, very good player. Yes, he had the really bad injury, but to pick up a player of that quality who's Premier League experience, knows where the back of the net is. Wasn't it something stupid like 4 million or 3.5 million?
4 5 million, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah,
exactly. Mad. He's
one of the highest paid players at the club, but you know he's not going to score you 20 goals a season. But he's got a brain, he's intelligent. But that's the issue for me. I think there've been chances where they've gone begging, whether it's Jimenez or Muniz, who to be honest is not really good enough to be starting week in week out. So there's a weakness that we've got to strengthen in attack, and I don't think there'll be a panic signing in the next 24 hours either, to be honest. And if we could just iron out those gaps and weaknesses, just strengthening those key positions. You know, we haven't replaced Mitrovic. You know, he's not welcome back at this club by most fans after buggering off to Saudi Arabia. But if we had a Mitrovic in this side, we'd probably be fifth or sixth. Now like I said, we'll just convert those draws into wins. He'd be scoring many more goals. We probably wouldn't be many points, if not even better off than you guys. So that's the missing piece of the jigsaw, with a couple of reinforcements in the middle of the park. But overall, it's progress. Yeah, we need, but the owners aren't going to go and splash hundreds, 200 million pounds. We're not the club to do that. We won't be able to track the players of that ilk at the moment until we start to iteratively show progress and rising up that table. So it's a good time to be a Fulham fan. You know, there's a cup. You know, we said the FA Cup. Let's try to progress there and start to, trying to target some silverware, because I think we're not going to get relegated. We're not likely to get into Europe. So there's not much to play for other than just finishing as high up at the table as possible. So for me, the cup run is important here, but let's do a job on you on Saturday. I think we're a dual victory at St James's Park. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
No due victory. Emilio. Well, I hope not anyway. But
Smith Rowe was the other danger man.
He's just come back as well.
Yeah, he's one that we looked at before as well. We talked about.
Do you want him? Do you want him? Do you want to swap Gordon for Smith Rowe?
No, definitely not. No. It's just
okay.
Before that big injury at Arsenal, we were interested in him then. We're talking ourselves, not actual anything concrete.
Well, Sophie's just put my next point I was going to just bring up around Harry Wilson, because Marco Silva confirmed today that he's fractured his foot. He's going to be out for 10 weeks minimum, which is a big blow, I think, for you guys, because Harry Wilson's been really sort of influential for your team. For the few games that I watched, I remember, I think it was it against Brentford at home?
Yeah, absolutely.
Scored the two late goals that won you the game.
Exactly.
And he's had a couple of other moments as well where he's been really effective. So, is that a massive blow to you guys, especially the fact that you've just said it doesn't look like you're going to make any additions in the window.
No. I think there probably will be a panic signing to get some backup for Harry Wilson because he's had a stress fracture against Man United. He got pulled up second half and it didn't look good from where I was sitting at the ground. And he's confirmed it today, so he's out for the season. He's one of those players who's been a bit topsy turvy. Was struggling to get into the starting 11, started to make an impact off the bench, got a few important goals, and then Marco Silva put faith in him and actually made him start games week in week out. He was causing problems, especially away from home. We do actually play better away than we do at home. Our home form is not good enough. It's certainly not good enough to play in Europe or to get a European place, which is why I think it's all got some gaps there. But away from home, we tend to play the long ball over the defence. With his pace, he gets behind that defence and causes all sorts of problems. He got Liverpool defender sent off, but that time when he got the better of him, got pulled down last man. So we're going to miss him because I think he's now playing probably the best Premier League form at Fulham since he joined the club, and it's a shame that he's injured for the rest of the season. So disappointing, but again, we haven't got much backup there. That's the problem. So there will be some sign. There has to be because we can't go over the rest of the season with the current squad as too wafer thin, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Newcastle for a little bit because obviously we mentioned about the run that we've been on. It's 10 wins in 11 games in all competitions, which has been fantastic. I mean, lots of opposition fans are talking about the Bournemouth game, and rightly so to a point because I don't think any fan outside of Newcastle, including Newcastle fans, actually expected us to lose, but particularly in the way that we did. What have you made of Newcastle, particularly in this run now, and what are your worries coming up to St James's Park on Saturday?
Confidence you guys are in. Put aside that Bournemouth. I think a lot of people, including myself, underestimated how good a Bournemouth team this is. I know I was disappointed we drew 2-2 just after Christmas when we were 2-0. We conceded a late equaliser. On paper, that was actually a good result because they've been smashing teams all over the place. So Bournemouth, probably between them and Forest, I'd probably say they're the team of the season. But Bournemouth, to be honest, play more attractive football than Forest, but Forest are harder to beat. They've got a little bit more guile, But overall, you're in hot form. Isaac's playing form of his life at the moment. He can't stop scoring, so clearly that's going to be the danger point. He scored last season, didn't he? We lost 3-0 at the at St James's Park when Jimenez got sent off quite early last season. So, but I hope it'll be a different story this time around. But you're 3 months ago, we were talking about, well, is Eddie Howe's days numbered here? You're lacking consistency. A lot of fans were disappointed about your position in the table. You were struggling, and I think you were starting to have some doubts. But suddenly, 1 win, 2 wins. It's all about confidence in this division. It's so tight. Get 1 win, 2 wins, you're up the table. You start losing 2 games, you're back down the table. So it's
so tight.
It's very, very, very tight up there. So I don't think there's any. Many teams are very similar. I think this is a key thing. There's no predictability in this league. Man City. Don't be surprised they'll go and win the Champions League. They struggled to qualify. Now look where they are. They've managed to scrape through, and that might spur them on and push up the table. So this Premier League's got a few more twists and turns to come, as far as I'm concerned. Bottom and the top of the table.
And you know what, Emilio? I mean, not to segue, but I was looking because I'm doing a last man standing. You've got to pick a team every week, and they can't draw or lose. You've got to win. And this weekend, it's virtually impossible. It's virtually impossible. I've already picked Newcastle, so I can't pick them, and I've already picked Nottingham Forest, so I can't pick them. And I look at the other games, and I'm just like, I like everyone's saying do Liverpool, but I'm just not having it. I think Bournemouth gets something this weekend. Really, really good.
Bournemouth looking good. They're scoring goals. I think Forest. That's they're getting smashed by Bournemouth last weekend. Is that going to knock their confidence? Be interesting to see how Forest respond to that. Whether they can just put that behind them and go back to the way they were difficult to beat. They relied on a very tight defence, very organised unit. Not always playing the best football. I know Dave Asprey won't mind me saying. There was no one say scraping wins, but once they got the lead, they were difficult they weren't conceding, and Bournemouth again, they can score 2, 3, 4 goals. They're in a hot rain of form. How long can they continue that remains to be seen, but it's the unpredictability of this league, to be honest with you. But it's exciting as a neutral. I'm sure that's a good thing.
There's excitement certainly in the fan base right now. Is that where it didn't look possible 6 to 8 weeks ago. We're now looking and sitting in a position that could acquire us Champions League football. Looking at the coverage, we had a look with Keith Downey of Sky Sports last night. Brilliant show. Anyone that's not watched it, take a watch, because it's a really, really good show. And we looked at the coefficient in England and looked absolutely dead set to get that 5th Champions League spot. So, and we're currently occupying that space. Do you look at Newcastle United in the way we're playing, and do you see a team that could potentially qualify for the Champions League, or do you think Europa League, Europa Conference is more of a realistic achievement?
It's there for the taking. I think it probably won't mind me saying it's probably there for for you to lose that opportunity. Because I think the way the team just set up, everyone's beating each other. There's no consistency. Like you can beat Liverpool one week and lose to Ipswich the next, for example. So it's very inconsistent. I'm not damning Ipswich, but you can see it's just there's no predictability. But are you ready to play in the Champions League? Is probably more importantly. Again, it's how much investment is there going to be in the summer for you guys? So I think it's there if you want it. Are you going to get reinforcements in the next 24 hours? You've probably suggested, Pete, not going to get many new additions. So has this squad got the depth, the legs to push on? Last season, you had so many injuries last year. I remember how many you went 2 or 3 months with just a shitload of injuries. But this time you've had probably more consistency of players, less injuries, and you're probably in the position you expected to be at the beginning of the season. But can you sustain it for the next 4 months? I don't know. What do you think? I think it's there for the take. You can get that in 4 months, but you've got to win the 6 pointers around you. That's a key thing.
Yeah. Well, let's ask the boys then. Can we sustain it? Can we do that? We just put in the chat, I think, Chris, you put it in, that the opt stats say that we've got a 45% chance of finishing in the top 5 currently as it stands. Have we got enough? We've heard from Keith Downey. Looks like we're not going to get anybody in, maybe another one going out. Rumours of Kelly being linked with Marseille and Dortmund today. Target with Leeds potentially before the end of the window. Vlachodimos potentially could be going out on loan. So there's still players to move out, but it doesn't look like there's anyone coming in. Have we got enough to sustain that push, the top 5 that could get us Champions League? What are we thinking?
Go on, Chris.
You know what? It's a great question, and I think, and it's sort of retrospect, isn't it? But I think if we can manage to keep the vast majority of the 16, 17 players who have an impact on that first 11, absolutely. The only problem we've got, which I'm sure everyone at home will be like, yeah, well, obviously, if we were to lose one of the big key players, that's where I'd worry. If we were to lose an Isak, if we were to lose a Tonali, if we were to lose a Gordon, that's where you start thinking, oh, I don't know. And Emilio raises a really good point, when he talks about whether we've got the strength and depth. And this is what we're hoping, Emilio. Obviously, we're hoping that we've got enough. That I think the owners are taking a gamble on the fact that we will have enough in order to qualify this year for the Champions League next season. However, I do think, particularly if we keep our powder dry this window, and as Keith Downey said yesterday on the show, we're in for the big summer. And I think the owners will look back at the previous Champions League campaign and go, you know what, we're a season more experienced in terms of we've had our Champions League rush. Everyone got excited, and it was all exciting and bouncy. And we're seeing it. We're almost seeing it as well with the Carabao Cup. I think you'll notice the build up and hopefully the final, touch wood, will be a lot different to how it was previously. I think we're going to go into it this time with we've done it. We've been here before. Let's go and get the results. That's what's important. And I think we'll do the same in the Champions League. And I think the owners will go, you know what, we need 3, 4, 5 top quality players. And I think if we do qualify for the Champions League, we'll go out and get those players, and we'll see a different Newcastle. And I think we'll do better. And I think we will progress. If we get through, I think we will progress from the first stage, because I think we'll just be that bit more seasoned and we'll be more ready for it. But it depends on the summer.
Yeah, that's the problem. I say arguably the wealthiest owners or the ones with the most cash to spend, but it's with all these PSR regulations. None of us know quite how it works, to be honest with you. It's all a bit of a blur and a mystery, but there's balancing the books. There's making the club sustainable as well. You might be cash rich, but it's all there's a finance business element here. So it's easiest for us as fans to say, look, we want more players. The wages are getting ridiculous. I'm seeing, just for example, Mitoma. The Saudis want to pay nearly 50 to a set. What's the World's gone
Pete,
mad. Sorry,
you put that in the chat, Pete. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That is a crazy price. I mean, he's been out of form this season, as you rightly said earlier, Pete, in our private chat. And Emilio, totally agree. And you're thinking that's Brighton's opportunity to cash in and then continue this cycle of players. But they've rejected the deal. They must think they're going to get more. Must do.
Yeah. Have you not heard?
No?
Apparently, they're coming back in with 90 million. That could be
90.
their second bid. They're willing to go up to 90 million to get Matoma.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I just don't understand. It's and that's where the world's gone absolutely mad. Like you said, Chris, he's not playing as well as last season, but we've got, arguably Newcastle and Fulham have got better players than Matoma, yet we won't even get a fraction of that. So something doesn't balance. Something's not right.
We've got Harvey Barnes sitting on our bench that can't get in because of Anthony Gordon. I'm sorry. We paid 38 million for Harvey Barnes, so we could quite easily justify getting 60 or 70 from Saudi if that's the case. And by all accounts, Harvey Barnes apparently is happy to go, quite rightly, because he's not playing football for us in the summer. If I'm Newcastle United, I'm going one of the PIF clubs. Take Harvey Barnes, natural goal scorer, will score shed load of goals, and then we can properly invest in the team. It's mad if teams are willing to do that now. And get players like Matoma from Brighton, then we just need to start doing some of the same. Like we really do.
And Pete, if you rewind 2, maybe 3 months ago, Harvey Barnes was our top scorer. Harvey Barnes was he was the main guy when he was the one scoring all the goals.
Yeah,
not starting, but scoring all the goals.
Yeah,
he's got 6 already this season. He's barely had any starts. Coming off the bench, playing 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and he's got 6 this season. Probably will look at double figures by the end of the season when he's back fit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think it's wild at the moment. And, I think there was a comment as well. I think Daz, you may have starred it, or I saw it before. It was from Darren actually. Darren had put a comment on. I'll try and find it and come back to it, but he was making a really, really good point around PSR. I think
is that Pete?
Yeah, that and that's it. And PSR never. This is almost a positive and a curse at the same time, because PSR in the Premier League will turn around and they'll go, "This is why we did it." Because the season's so kind of like meshed together, and anyone can get anything this season. Look at Forest, look at Bournemouth, you're looking at Fulham up there. Brentford have had a decent season as well, and they almost can justify it. But this is not the reason why they did it. This is not the reason, and it's almost like it's been done, if anything, to spite the Premier League, but the Premier League will still turn it into a positive in some way, shape, or form. So I kind of don't know which way to take this, but we joke about on the Top Table Talk on our channel, Emilio, with Wolfie, the Forest fan, and we call ourselves the Alliance because we're almost working together to achieve more than the top 6, and it feels like it has to be that way. I'm so desperate for us, Forest. Bournemouth are up there for us to knock out a few of the established. Like you're doing that, Brentford are doing that, Bournemouth, ourselves, Forest. We're doing that to the likes of Tottenham and Man United. They're right down there at the moment, and if we could do that to the likes of Chelsea and knock them back a peg or two, that'd be a great thing. And we need more of this. We definitely do. There's a comment in the chat actually. I think Daz, you started it from one of your friends, Amelia. I think he's asking a question. Where is it?
Let me get the. You can answer here, Amelia.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're our guest.
Probably got. He's going to be a little bit less conservative. I think he's got a few things to talk about the situation at Fulham. The way the club is run, the season, the prices of the tickets, the lack of ambition. So yeah, if you want to bring Russ on, please do. If you can.
I've just sent the link to Cottage. Yeah, sent the link to Cottage Talk. So they've got the link on DM. So yeah, if feel free to join us. But do you want to go to a few questions just while we're waiting?
Exactly. Yes. This one from Foxy. Question for Emilio. Is it true Andres Pereira turning down contract extension? I was watching Pereira's show earlier this week, and they seem confident on getting him back to Brazil.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Look, Andres Pereira is a bit like Marmite, right? It's a lot of fans don't want him to leave. I'm in the minority. I want him to stay, to be honest with you. I think there is I don't think his head's slightly been turned. It seems to be Palmeiras is looking to put another bid on the table. Most Fulham fans are saying he's 28, 29, take the money and move on. But don't take the money unless you've got an adequate replacement for him. And I think better the devil you know. I think he's divides opinion. Probably doesn't do enough for the club this season, but in his defence, and I'm defending him, he's playing out of position. He's been played typically in a more central midfielder. That's not his natural position. He likes to play in the hole behind the strikers, and that's where you're going to get him to be more effective. I know from set pieces, we don't score enough from those positions. His distribution from corners isn't very good. But when you're asking him to play in a more central midfield role for the best part of the season, it's no surprise he's not performing to the levels he was a couple of years ago, not scoring enough goals, not insisting enough. So what do Fulham fans want? They want him to go. Who's going to replace him? So he's an important player for us. If we get him some confidence, he gets a goal or two, play him in his natural position, fans will start to say suddenly, oh, Pereira, this is what he should have been doing all season. So fans like to be critical when things don't go well, and it's easy to point a finger and always have a scapegoat. But I don't want him to go unless you've got an adequate replacement for him, who's, if not better than him. And I don't see how we're going to find someone in the next 24 hours to make that sale happen. But is it official? Is it turned down the contract extension? I don't know, to be honest with you. It's there's a lot of speculation. I don't trust what I read in the media. He put a message out there a few weeks ago telling how much, apologizing for some offline interview that he had with the media about maybe wanting to leave the club and going back to some other, some French club or Brazilian club. But he's apologized for that in public. And I accept that apology. I just want him to play his natural game, and I think we'll see the best of Andres Pereira. But unfortunately, I'm in the minority. A lot of people want him out, but I'll only sell him if we've got an adequate replacement. Otherwise, Fulham fans mind what you wish for. So Russ wants to go with a vengeance. So it's
3-1 doesn't seem fair. Let's make it 3-2. Welcome, Russ.
How you doing, Russ?
Hey guys, thanks for having me join you. I was watching and I thought, you know what? I think I can add something to it, considering I'm in very much the different state than Emilio is when it comes to Pereira. I actually want them to sell him. I agree with Emilio that they need to get a player for him that's of equal value, except I look at him as addition by subtraction. I think that it'll force Fulham to really push forward with Emile Smith-Rowe. And I think in a way that having the two of them play together, I think hurts Fulham. So I want Pereira gone. Plus, I haven't forgiven him, Emilio, for those comments. Sorry, I haven't forgiven him.
He has had the decency to apologise to the club. They're slightly misconstrued, those comments. But to be honest with you, Russ, and we can debate on this, but if Pereira was playing in that Smith-Rowe position all season, he would have had a better return. Sorry, Smith-Rowe has been shit poor, to be honest with you. 30+ million, not doing enough. He's overweight. He's having bust-ups with the manager. He's having bust-ups with the manager. He needs to start adding value. And Pereira, 2 years ago, in his first season of the club, did a hell of a lot more than Smith-Rowe. I'm extremely disappointed.
Okay. While Emilio and I are going right at it here because I completely disagree with him. Wow. So to Emilio's point, and this is a Newcastle United show, not a Fulham show, but I'm going to share my thoughts on Emile Smith-Rowe. Emilio is right. He has been disappointing. I can't sugarcoat that. However, he's a player that I think needs time. There are certain players that walk in and are the real deal. He is someone that needs time to really mesh into Marco's system. And one of the only ways to do that is to get rid of a player that's blocking you, which is Pereira. So for me, I get rid of Pereira, and I think you're going to see the best Emilio of Smith-Rowe next season. You're seeing glimpses of it. You're just not seeing it each and every week. You are right. He has been disappointing. but that doesn't mean that you should be giving up on him.
No, I'm not giving up. And I just feel that, we can't make excuses. 6 months, half a year into his contract with Fulham, still not playing enough minutes, overweight, not contributing enough. Pereira's contribution rate 2 years ago in his first season at Fulham was significantly stronger than Smith Rowe. So yeah, we give him more time, but this is a tough league, right? We need players to hit the ground running, and Pereira has been played out of position for the best part. Let's don't forget that, Ross. He's been playing in a central midfield role rather.
No, you're right.
No,
listen,
we shouldn't forget that.
No, Emilio, listen, you are right. Except, can you please be in agreement with me that he should not be taking set pieces because he's horrible?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. That's definitely. But competition for places is important for any club like Fulham and Newcastle. I think it's important to have competition.
Yeah. How do we turn this into a Fulham show, by the way? How do we turn this into a Fulham show?
I don't know, but you made it happen. To be fair, I'm sitting here, lads. I don't know if you're in agreement with this. I'm sitting here thinking, did Smith Rowe only turn up against Newcastle earlier on in the season? Because he looked good against us.
He did.
You guys are saying that he's not had a good season, which really surprised me. It shocked me that you said that. Because I'll be honest, I haven't seen a lot of Fulham. I mentioned the Brentford game because that was on TV, but I just assumed that he was having a good season, but clearly not. It's interesting.
He's had some good games, to be honest with you, like the Crystal Palace game, and then he's had some stinkers. And Emilio is right to point out the stinkers, but the problem is he just hasn't been consistent. And Emilio's point, is he overweight? Probably, Emilio. So I'll give you that one. But Pereira, for me, I'm done with him. I'm not going to change my mind on that. But I agree with you. If they were to do it, they would have to bring in a player, but they're not going to do it. And plus, Marco loves him, so he's going to be part of the team.
Yeah, one of his signings as well. And I think at this point, I know we've got some other questions, but we may well rewind back to them afterwards. But hopefully, you might well be in agreement when you're discussing your lineups, because we'll bring the tactics.
You think so? I think we'll kill each other.
I think we will.
I'm hoping so. We'll bring the tactics board up here, and we've got the Fulham squad just below at the bottom here. So what we normally do, Russ, because it's your first time on the channel, we just get the opposition fans to call the first 11, how it is. So Emilio, Russ, how do you see your lineup being against Newcastle at St James's Park on Saturday?
Emilio, you want to go or do you want me to go?
Oh, Emilio's frozen. Oh. Or he's just had enough.
Emilio? Oh, do we lose Emilio?
He's frozen. The screen's frozen at the moment.
So okay. I'll go. I'll fill in for Emilio, and Emilio is my very good friend, so I can go at him. It's okay. He won't be offended. So I'm gonna go with Leno, Castagna. Now I would personally go with Diop, but I think Marco's gonna go with Anderson and Bassi. On the he will go with he'll go with Robinson, obviously. On the left, he's gonna go with Iwobi. On the right, it'll be Adama Traore. In the middle, it'll be Berga, Lukic, and then it'll be Smith Rowe, and then up front it'll be Jimenez. That's what I'm going with. Did you get all that?
16 there.
Right. Go for your midfield again. It's all right. I was looking for Iwobi. I'd missed him out completely.
Yeah. I'm gonna have on the left wing Iwobi, on the right wing Adama Traore. Yeah. In the middle, as a 2 would be Lukic and Berga, and then Smith Rowe as your number 10, and then Raul Jimenez up front.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So good to put Adama Traore twice.
Smith Rowe there, mate. 32 on the left.
There you go.
And then Smith Rowe. Sorry, I've got. You can't see this, but I've got this big block on my screen where the tactics board is, so I can't see the names at the bottom. So I'm having to shift. You guys can't see it, so you're probably thinking he's right there. Why are you not finding it? But I put this block in the way.
Put on your glasses, please.
I know. Tell me about it. Jesus.
Should I put on my glasses?
I may need them, to be fair.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah,
I'll keep buying till Saturday evening.
Yeah. And I'd be curious of Emilio's thoughts, but if I was Marco, I would swap out Anderson and bring in Diop. But I truly believe he's going to stick with Anderson, and I think part of it has to do with the price tag. You paid all this money for him, but Diop has actually outperformed Anderson.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because he was such an important player for Crystal Palace, and
exactly,
he spent such a large, it was 40 million, I think, all in.
Exactly. If I'm Eddie Howe, I target him, and I hate to give him pointers, but that's the player on Fulham that I would be targeting, especially with someone with pace. I would be running at him all day because he doesn't have a lot of pace.
Boys, I'll come to you on this because I think Russ has made a really interesting point. Because it was a while ago. I think it was a year ago in November. Remember when we played last season, Palace at home? We won 4-0. I'm pretty sure that we targeted Anderson in that game as well, and he had a really poor game because we were I think quite heavily linked with it.
Yeah, I think we did. I think you're right. Yeah,
very much so because that hasn't always been his issue. Defending wise, very good, but his lack of pace is a concern. So, it'd be interesting who we put up front.
I hope Eddie Howe's not watching.
Well, we are known to have our own Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall pop in now and again. So hopefully they are. But look, that's the team, lads. I'll come to you before we bring out our team. But Chris, Daz, looking at the Fulham team that Russ has put together there, what are the things that worry you the most? Anything with regards to that setup, certain players? It's a pretty strong team, to be fair.
Yeah, Russell won't want to hear this, but I still have concerns over the Emile Smith-Rowe. Maybe I'm scarred. Over the previous game. I don't know, but the Smith-Rowe I saw against Newcastle. Obviously Russell watches him week in, week out. I don't, but the Smith-Rowe I saw against Newcastle, he performed really, really well. Obviously, Adama Traore is a concern. He's big, strong, powerful, quick. I suppose the only thing with Adama Traore is I always wondered about the final ball. I always felt because no offense, Russell, I'm sure you'll agree. If Adama Traore had a really good final ball or a really good end product,
he'd be at Barcelona. We talk about it all the time.
He'd be 100%. 100%.
If I'm being honest with you guys, the player that you should be most concerned with, this is just my opinion, is Alex Iwobi. Alex Iwobi has been Fulham's player of the season, and that's what I'm hoping we'll see next season from Emile Smith-Rowe. But even on that wing, he can control a lot. He moves a lot. And for me, Iwobi can set up a lot of goals and score as well. But he's Fulham's key player, even out on the wing there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Emilio's back. He's back in the house, Emilio.
Apologies. Terrible internet connection. I'm in the studio at the back, my wife's studio, and the internet just dropped just with no warning. It's terrible. Sorry, apologies for that.
No, don't worry about it. Russ has put his 11 together, so you can see it on the screen. In agreement with that 11, would you change anything? How are you seeing it from your perspective, mate?
No, I think that's the lineup. He'll start with someone with Wilson, obviously injured for the rest of the season. Traore will come in. To be honest with you, I think you need experience. And there's Josh King as a young lad. Again, because our season is, I was saying earlier, I don't think we're good enough.
I play him, Emilio. I play him. I play,
and that's what I'm thinking. Maybe a game too early.
Yes,
put Iwobi on the right and put Josh King on the left. But I don't think Marco will take that risk. To be honest, I think he'll put experience up. Starting 11.
That links to a question from Foxy guys as well, because he asked on Josh King. How highly do you rate him?
Emilio, you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. These are the players that we need to retain. We've let in the past a lot of young players who sort of come to the end of their contracts, not get extended. The heads get turned. They go to a bigger club when we lose them. Fabio Carvalho, but clearly he's not gone on to better things. Harvey Elliott, same thing. He didn't want to. To a long-term contract, got pace.
Well, I lost him again.
Oh, I think we lost Emilio again.
What are your thoughts on Josh King, Russell?
So I actually think Josh King, based on what I've seen he's doing something right now that I think is very encouraging for the future. You want to see players play with no fear. And Josh King, I've seen go against Premier League players and just treat them like they're regular players. I think he will learn what he can and what he can't do. We actually saw that in some of his matches, is that I think he's treating all the players like he'd be playing against the team in the Championship or Premier League 2. He'll learn what he really can get away with against Premier League level players, but he has shown the ability that I think is off the charts. We've had some very good academy players, but the one thing that I noticed about him is that he doesn't care who he's going up against. He's going to try to make a move. And I think right now what Fulham are dealing with in reverse with Emile Smith-Rowe is that Emile Smith-Rowe right now, because of what's happened throughout the season, is playing with fear, meaning he's afraid to make a mistake. And I think that's what's taking away some of his creativity. Josh King is playing with no fear and can create things out of nothing. And that's what's exciting for us. And he's a young kid. The sky's the limit for him. I just hope Fulham can tie him up for a long period of time, because he's that type of player. We've had some very good academy players. I think he might be among the best.
Yeah, interesting. Well, definitely one to watch. Josh King, that's for sure, and good opinions there from yourself, Russ. You just want to finish off your thoughts on Josh King, Amelia?
Yeah, Paul, I've come into another room now. I've gone back into the main part of the house. But Josh King, a lot of talent. I was saying just before I dropped off again, if we're not going to get into Europe, we're not going to get relegated, we need to start playing these players, give them experience game time. So I'd like to see him come on second half. I don't think, like I said, still will have the courage to start him tomorrow, but this is likely to be our starting 11. I think there's still a question mark around Anderson's,
Agreed.
Defensively. I think ultimately we played a back five for 2 or 3 games in December, Russ, and that was partly tactical, but that system didn't quite work. But Diop, when Anderson was injured in November and early December, had a very accomplished, steady, performances in that central defence. Then Marcus Silva went to a back five. Clearly that formation wasn't working. He made a slight mistake against Bournemouth, which led to the Bournemouth equaliser. Anderson has made more mistakes, but Marcus Silva clearly favours him, and Diop got dropped to the bench. Anderson hasn't been as talismanic as he could be, to be honest with you, that talisman in central defence. He had a good start of the season. He was very good. Then he got sent off against Villa in October and got an injury in November. And I don't think he's the player he was. I think he's still carrying a knock. And there's question marks about his performances. He's still looking a little bit sluggish and looking a little bit uncomfortable. So if Eddie Howe has done his homework, he's probably someone they'll be looking to exploit, because he's not had some polished performances in the last few weeks. I'll be honest with you.
Interesting. I've just got one point, unless the lads have got anything you want to say, boys, before we come on to the Newcastle team. The one thing I just wanted to mention just on your 11 is the fact that you have got Traore starting. I always see him as an impact player. I don't see him as a player to start, and I always feel like he runs out of steam very quickly. He has this little burst of 10-15 minutes where he looks like really strong and unplayable at times, and then all of a sudden he just drifts away and he gives you absolutely nothing. Do you boys as Fulham fans feel exactly the same?
That's a great question. Emilio, do you want to take it first, or should I?
You take it first, right?
Yeah, sure. So for me, and I've talked a lot about this on Cottage Talk, is that I actually think, like you're saying, that I believe Adama Traore is much more valuable from the 60th minute on, coming off the bench, running at a tired team. However, right now, Fulham have a major injury with Harry Wilson and really have no choice. So they have to play Adama Traore. But if you're asking me, Traore was starting at the beginning of the season and it switched off a little bit. We also have the injury to Reece Nelson, which has hurt Fulham. But if you're asking me, Traore, I agree, is more valuable in a 30-minute stint than playing 60 minutes and then taking him off.
Yeah. For me, Antior, that's what I was going to say as well. Pinpoint him. I like the way Darren has referred to him here as greasy arms, but for me, Jory, I actually think he's in the wrong sport. I think he'd be unreal rugby player. I don't see him as a footballer. I've never have. He has the pace, but that's it. I never see him doing anything else. That could come back to bite me now on Saturday. But what the danger man for me is Smith Rowe and look at Iwobi as well. And anytime we come up against Iwobi, he always has the ball. You can see him doing this runs all over the place. So he's a bit of a danger man there as well.
Emilio, would you like to add to that? Because I talked about Iwobi.
Yeah, and again, he's been probably our most consistent player this season. But again, I want to say running out of steam at times. There's been a few average performances by his own standards in recent games. Against Man United, he tried at the weekend, but the whole team, both teams were very poor on Sunday night when we played Man United. But he's key to us. If you can snuff him out, then Smith Rowe's got to start stepping up. He's got to start taking control, get more involved, contribute more, because he has some nice touches, Smith Rowe, some nice interlinked play, but he needs to sort of play consistently for 80, 90 minutes. And we haven't seen that often enough. So for me, he's the main man, to be honest with you. And I think he needs to sort of step up, show the value that, the trust that they've brought to the club and start to deliver regular performances. We need that quality from Smith Rowe, especially now with the squad being wafer thin and not many additions into the squad in the next 24 hours. Your Iwobi, Smith Rowe's, Traore's, these experienced players, they need to start delivering consistently. Otherwise, we're just going to tail off and just finish to where we are now, mid-table, really.
Definitely. Amelia, I know you might have to shoot in a minute, so just let us know when you need to shoot off.
Sure, I'll carry on a little bit more. That's fine. I think
no problem. At this point now, boys, Daz, Chris, we're going to look at what we think is going to start on Saturday for Newcastle United. So take it away, boys. What are you thinking in terms of starting 11?
Well, I'm going to let Chris pick the team because Chris prides himself each week on getting the team right. So what I'll do is I'll let you pick it, Chris. If I disagree, you will know. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, Dazzler. Okay. No, right. Okay. Right. Well, let's go with Martin Zabavka in goal. I know Nick Pope's back, but I fancy Martin Zabavka to stay in between the sticks. It will be Lewis Hall at left back.
Lewis Hall.
Love his song, by the way. Love his song. Brilliant. Right back, I think will continue to be Tino Livramento. Left centre back will be Dan Burn. Big Dan Burn. Oh, this is a horrible one again, isn't it? I've got to stick with Fabian Schär. I've got to. Off the back of the previous game, I think I've got to stick with Fabian Schär. I think it would be harsh to drop him. But I do want Sven Botman back on that team sooner rather than later. But maybe not just yet. In the number 6, I would put Sandro Tonali.
Never in doubt.
Of course. Left centre mid, Big Joe Linton. Right centre mid, Captain Fantastic, Bruno Gomes. Left wing, I mean, it pretty much picks itself, really, doesn't it? Left wing, Anthony Gordon. Right wing, Jacob Murphy.
It's not Miggy.
No, definitely not Miggy.
I had to remove Miggy and Alex Murphy from the squad today. It's quite an emotional moment, having to remove those players mid-season and not add anything. Sorry, go on.
And I love saying this, Russell and Emilio. It's my favourite part. The best striker in Europe through the middle.
Yeah,
Alexander Isak.
Okay,
nice one. And I didn't even have to use this. I didn't have to do it, Chris.
So okay, I've got the question I was going to ask you when you're picking your centre backs, Chris, is around this man, Fabian Schär. And the question is even though it got ruled out, is his mistake of losing the header and not going for the header against Southampton, is that enough to remove him from the squad and put Botman back in? What are your thoughts?
Probably not, but it is a good question, Pete. It is a good question because I do feel like Sven Botman will be breathing down his neck. We know now. Well, I say we know now. We always knew. I think in an ideal world, Sven Botman would be at that left side of centre back, but we cannot remove Dan Burn. Dan Burn cannot be moved. He's playing out of skin, and I think it would be incredibly harsh if we just dropped him. So I feel like he's cemented that place for now. We know Eddie Howe's not a big fan of changing teams unnecessarily. So it is very much that right centre-back position, which is up for grabs. But I don't think Fabian Schär, I don't think he did enough to be dropped, if that makes sense. I mean, he's not looked the best since he's come back, no doubt. But I do think he'll stick with him. And I think after the win, I think it would make sense. But what do you think, Daz? Do you think there's any possibility Sven comes back in?
I didn't think I'd be saying this, but I think I have the advantage of not having power for 6 days, so I didn't get to see the game. I just saw the goals, so that's why I'm going to stick with the winning team, like you said there. But I also agree, though, Botman can't be out for too long either. He needs to get his way, but he needs to step up to do that as well. I know I heard. Big Dan Burns' dad talking on some show I was listening to, and he ups his game when he's places under threat. So fair play to him. He retains his spot for now. Let's see,
Pete, where are you on this? Because we know you love Sven Botman as much as we do, and where are you with Sven Botman? Is it a case of waiting for his opportunity? Is it a case for a little bit of squad rotation and then it's hard to displace him, or do you think that Eddie just pushes the button and gets him back in?
I've just put one of the mics on mute just because we're getting a little bit of traction back off it. But it's a great question. For me, it's very, very simple. I want Sven Botman in the team. He's our best centre back. I want him playing.
He is,
and he's had a couple of weeks rest now. He didn't play against Southampton. He'll have been training regularly. For me, he needs to start, and I think I would drop Shaw for Botman, and I'll tell you the reason why. And the reason why is Raul Jimenez. It was a similar reason why I thought Botman might start against Southampton. Is that Sven Botman is very good up against a big physical striker that likes to put himself about. And Onyechu did that, and I thought Dan Burn handled him quite well. I thought Shaw struggled against him at times against Southampton. And I'm looking at the game at the Cottage where Shaw was all over the place and allowed Jimenez not only to bring the ball down back to goal, but then swivel and hit it in the bottom corner for that first initial goal. And I just don't want that happening again. And I don't think Sven Botman allows Jimenez to do that. So that would be my thinking. It is playing him out of position because it would be a right centre-back who's left-footed. But I think for that reason and that reason alone, I would do it because I think Botman handled Larson, who plays for Wolves, really well at St. James's Park, who's very similar build and type of player. So that's kind of where I'm at, lads, with that. I'd get Botman in the team. But that naturally, I think, would be my only change. Everything else stays as it is. Just one word on Dubravka. He's deserved his spot in the team. I think he will be number one, unless he has an absolute disaster. I don't think Pope gets back into the team anytime soon, if I'm honest with you.
No, agree. Totally agree.
Agree.
Emilio, Russ, anything on the Newcastle team? Any players you're worried about in particular? Anywhere you think Newcastle, apart from Anderson that you referred to earlier, anywhere else you think are potential weaknesses that Newcastle could exploit?
Emilio, you want to go?
I think central defence, in that central midfield, I think we've got, with Berger back from injury, that's key. I think Fulham missed him
Agreed.
for 3 or 4 games, 5 games. So those games, albeit we didn't necessarily lose, but the fact is those draws probably would have been wins in that. When we were beginning the show, I was talking about when we drew games that we probably should have converted into 3 points. We missed that. We missed him in the middle of the park. So Berger coming back is crucial for this game. Tonali, obviously being Italian, obviously I'm pleased that he's playing outstanding for the club. And even when he came and played for the Italian national team, in last season, he's the difference in that midfield. He's just making things happen quick,
good eye for goal, great movement, good passing, and he's transposed that into the Newcastle team week in, week out. And since he came back into the squad, you've started to get that consistency. You're looking dangerous, creating goals. And Isak as well had a sticky start to the season, didn't he? But then suddenly, is it a coincidence that Tonali and him started, they're both playing consistently week in, week out, that you've suddenly got this, this 10 wins out of whatever the statistic is. So, I think Traore can take advantage of Lewis Hall. I think Traore's a start. There's a gap. There's an opportunity for us there. Get early. Get Lewis Hall. I think there's a liability there for you. He's probably one of your weaker links. I don't know. Obviously, I don't see enough of Newcastle week in, week out. I think Traore can exploit that, in my opinion. But he is a hit or miss. Some games he's very good. Other games he goes missing. So, but I think it's going to be an evenly contested game. It won't be. I don't think it'll be a 3-0 game like it was last season. We do play better away from home. I think I've said that.
Bingo.
But overall, we're going to look to get that early goal, Russ. I think we're going to try to see if we can get an early goal within 20 minutes and just really settle the nerves and silence the fans a little bit. But overall, I think Traore against Lewis Hall is an opportunity for us. I think Anderson's weaknesses and sluggishness, I think, is an opportunity for you guys. And the rest, I think, is going to be an evenly matched game, I think, to be honest with you. We just got to keep Isak under control. And Berger on Tonali, that's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be the key. If Tonali gets too much space and freedom, then we could be in trouble.
I agree with Emilio. The Hall could struggle against Traore if they're playing rugby. But on a football pitch, no, Lewis Hall is going to do the business.
Yeah, do you know what, Emilio? I've got to say, as you say, you don't watch Newcastle week in, week out, but Lewis Hall he's been absolutely fantastic this season. He's probably up there with one of the players of the season. He's really turned the corner. Last season, struggles. Obviously when he came in, didn't see much football, but this season he's been outstanding. I mean, hopefully, Emilio, you get to see that firsthand on Saturday. I mean, it could bite us on the bum. This, like we said earlier, it could bite us on the bum, if anything. And somebody put it in the chat. I think it was Bobby. Yeah, there it is. Livramento's been more of a liability than Hall overall this season. Well, maybe not liability. Maybe that's slightly harsh. But I would say Hall has outperformed Livramento this season. That's what I'd say. Pete, what would you say on that?
I'd agree with that. I'd say that if we've ever, for example, the Bournemouth game, a lot of their goals, in fact, pretty much all of their goals came from our right-hand side. So down Tino Livramento's side, and I think that is a particular weakness. Now, Tino Livramento can be unplayable. For example, against Arsenal, both times this season, I thought he's been excellent. So he has that opportunity to really, when he's zoned in, to be excellent. But there's times where he does just switch off, and so we're going to need him to be on point. But I'm not worried about Lewis Hall to a point, maybe from a pace point of view. But I think what you'll see here is a little double up from Joe Linton. Joe Linton will be he'll be the physical one to go toe to toe with Traore, which will be a really good test, by the way, physicality. But I think that's what you'll probably see quite a lot of, is Joe Linton just filling in that spot to support Traore, and you'll see Hall try and push Traore out wide and just drive him down here, and Joe Linton will just try and stop anything cutting inside. And he naturally is a natural right winger, so he does tend to go down that side. But Hall does his best work here. When a player naturally goes down that side to try and get a ball in, he can defend really, really well. It's when players cut inside and drive into this area, that's where he finds it difficult. So that's where Joe Linton, I think, will be really, really key, just to cut that bit off. But just a couple of things from me. I think you've mentioned about the midfield battle. I think it's really interesting. I think you're right. Russ and Emilio, I think.
Can I share my views on the midfield? Because I think that's where this match is going to be won, lost, or drawn. And I'm glad that Emilio already talked about this. For me, the key for Fulham to win, and I'm going to say win the match, it's going to be Berger and Lukic, because I believe Fulham are going to really thrive on the counter. Because, again, I actually, as Emilio said, Fulham are better away from Craven Cottage, which sounds crazy, but it is true, partially because Marco's teams are very well set up to play on the counter. And if they get the protection that they need from Lukic and Berger, and that they can get players like Traore and especially Iwobi moving forward, that's where Fulham will get their joy. Liverpool found this out. Arsenal even found this out. It's if you give Fulham the counter that they want, that's where they can hurt you.
Interesting. And that's where we're gonna have to be switched on, is that counter attack. Just like we were against Bournemouth, we got caught a few times on the counter. We just need to be aware of that. But my worry is more down here than down the left hand side. But I think from an attacking point of view, lads, and does Chris come in before we come to some questions as we sort of wrap up the show. Sander Berg down here, I think, is going to have a really, really top game. And I like him. You boys all know that when we were linked with him.
Yeah.
I like Sander Berg. Watched him quite a lot at Sheffield United, and he was a real key player for them way back when, before he went to Burnley. But down here, and the reason being is because this is the position that Bruno will take up in a lot of the game. What we're seeing now is Bruno Guimaraes having a real impact as a number 8 on the edge of the area. So what you'll find is that you'll have Jacob Murphy making direct runs in there, Isak will make runs in here, and what Chris does, you'll know, because we've saw it so many times this season. And in fact, what I'll do, just to emphasise the point, I'll get a ball out. Let's get.
You're playing the first goal.
Well, potentially, I hope so. Is that what you'll find is that Bruno will pick the ball up around here. Jacob Murphy will make that run in there. Bruno will slot it in through the line. Isak will make the run across goal and in. And we've seen that type of goal happen so many times. So the reason why I say that Sander Berg's going to have to be switched on to be able to cut that line off. If he cuts that line off, I think it'll be a more difficult game for Bruno to be able to get the time and space to make the difference. But I think that's going to be a real crucial moment in there. The other thing is Gordon up against Castagna. He's got pace to burn. He will put Castagna on the back foot constantly. It's whether he's got that time and ability to manage that. Because when Gordon's on point, I don't think there's many fullbacks in the league that can handle him. And then it's the pace up against Anderson. I fully expect to see Isak pull off Anderson and make those runs in and around him with a Scher or Botman or Livramento. Someone needs to play those diagonal balls in and across the field into Isak. That'll be just one to keep an eye on from that perspective. But anything else, lads, to add?
Yeah,
both Fulham and Newcastle perspective.
Oh, I'm sorry. One final thought, and I want to get Emilio's thoughts, because while we're talking about this, there is the possibility that Marco might throw a little bit of a switch here and play Iwobi on the right and play Traore on the left. Emilio, you've seen this, and he might actually do this because it gives more protection against a player like Anthony Gordon. So he might do that. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree, and we saw that on Sunday, didn't it? When we
he switched it.
Yeah, switched it around against Man United, trying to make something happen and try to change things around. And and that's a good point. Iwobi probably does track back more than Traore, so there's an opportunity there with Gordon. Mustn't get free rein there. And Castagna again is coming for Kenny Tete. Tete was outstanding up until his injury in December, and we've actually missed him. Although Castagna's done a steady professional job, I still prefer Kenny Tete. Tete's stronger, more physical, can deliver a better cross. But Castagna's steady Eddie, does the simple things well. But again, Gordon, there could be there's an opportunity to exploit. But Castagna was one of my top 3 players last season, but he hasn't really hit the same height since he's come on with Kenny Tete. So again, on the right hand side of that defence, Anderson and Castagna, there'll be some weaknesses of which Newcastle will be looking to exploit.
Anything Newcastle related, boys, before we come off?
Yeah, I'm kind of going to link it to some of the comments I saw here as well, and I want to. Bobby says players like Smith Rowe in that 10 role tend to cause us big problems, and Donald says midfield is definitely a key area. Smith Rowe would be in the danger man, but our Superman in there, Tonali, he'll mop up there. So that's why I'm not worried. I'm worried about Smith Rowe, but I know Tonali can do that job. Something that were missing before, and he'll track back. He'll stay back when needed, and he kind of tends to sniff that out for us now these days. So I think that could be that's for me. Chris, answer for you.
No, I agree with you, mate. I think looking at it, obviously as I saw the comments, about Smith Rowe and really good player, but I think Tonali being in the 6 does change things slightly. But I do take obviously what Bobby and the other person said, in terms of that being a threat for Newcastle. I mean, I'm interested to see how Murphy does against Anthony Robinson, probably one of the better left backs in the league. So it's a big test for Jacob Murphy at the weekend. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on. Jacob Murphy's been in fantastic form, and if he gets the better of Anthony Robinson, then that's really exciting for us. In terms of he's putting himself up against one of the best, as I say, one of the best left backs in the league, and if he can get the better of him, that'll do his confidence the world of good. And obviously, all eyes will be on Fabian Schär if he starts. Because he'll know that he's got Sven Botman breathing down his neck. But no, I feel confident going into it, and I think we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, that midfield will be key. I just hope that Joe Linton, Bruno, they just stretch Lukic and Berg as much as possible, just to try and really put Fulham on the back foot. Because I think if we allow them to push forward, support Emile Smith Rowe, we could end up getting overloaded. So we've just got to be very careful of that.
Definitely
overloaded.
Yeah,
overloaded.
We do see sometimes that Joe Linton picks up space in this. Like how we expect Emile Smith Rowe to be in and around here. Sometimes I've noticed in games that Joe Linton, he did it against Bournemouth, and it probably went against us, is he was picking up early spaces here in that number 10 position and was just kind of sitting there. We're probably going to need him to sit here here on Saturday, just to sit in as we normally do. But he will look. I've noticed he is very much more attacking now than he was before, and he is really looking to get forward time and time again. But boys,
and this is the beauty, mate, of having Sandro Tonali in the 6, because he's able to do that.
They've got trust now. They trust who they've got to be able to look behind them. But we'll do a couple of questions. Amelia, I'm not sure how much time you've got, but we'll do a couple of questions before we do predictions.
Okay.
And then we see out the show.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I've got to drop off soon as well for Dan Potsy wants me on the other show.
He's probably doing this. He's like, where is he? Is there a couple of questions, Daz, for the
boys? There is. Good to hear from Andy Ford. He says, question for the Fulham boys. Why is it the Fulham have... I'm just going to mute you. There we go. Thanks, Mila. Question for the Fulham boys. Why is it Fulham have such a strong connection with players from the USA? Russ, this is up your street. As I sort of think, is it just a coincidence or something else? Cheers.
Ross, I'll leave that to you to answer.
Sure, I can. Obviously, you can hear I'm an American. I actually live outside of Boston, Massachusetts. So my connection, and being honest, was Clint Dempsey. So as far as back as I can, there has always been this connection with players in the U.S. And it's continued, because then you had, after Dempsey left, you still had Tim Ream. Now you have Anthony Robinson, even though he doesn't live in the U.S. There is this connection, but I don't know why. I don't think that they target American players. It just has worked out that way. That the way that I probably looked at it back, and maybe Mill, you can back me up on this. Maybe back in the 2000s, it had more to do with value, because American players are not as highly valued as other country players. So that might be a factor too, to get good value. And American players were good value back then with Dempsey. And it's a little bit different now, but I think that was a factor in all this.
Cool. I just had to Google there. Was Freddie Adu still playing? Remember him, Pete, from Football Manager? No. He's 35.
What a bust! What a bust!
He could still be playing. Jeez. What
we'll go to one for you then. Where do you expect Fulham to finish this season? Tom Dixon asks.
Probably where they are now, to be honest. I don't think they've quite got enough legs to get top 7, top 8, but then they win 2 or 3 games on the spin. Suddenly they're back in that top 6, top 7 position. So it's very inconsistent, but I don't think we've got enough depth. A lot of injuries are again causing us a bit of havoc. We're not going to get many signings, if any, in the next 24 hours. So if we finish top 10, 9th to 11th, that's probably where I expect us to finish. No lower than 11th or 12th, but could creep into the top 9. But we've got to start improving our home form. If we don't improve our home form, then the season's going to peter out. That's what I'm worried about. I think it could not good enough for top at 6-7, not going to get relegated. So you're going to sort of mid-table mediocrity when I think it's a missed opportunity. We should have, we should have had more points on the table, and that's a problem.
Emilio, we're going to give you a few more hours because the transfer deadline day doesn't close till it slams shut on the 3rd of February.
3rd of February, even better. Even better.
Yeah. So a few more days.
That's good.
Question then from David Tofield. He says, question for Fulham fans. Was the game against Man United a typical Fulham performance?
Can I take this one, Emilio?
You take it, Rusk.
So I actually watched this with a coworker who's a Manchester United supporter. We watched it together, and he told me if he wasn't over my house watching it, he would have fell asleep by halftime. It was a terrible game. For the neutral, forget about it. It was terrible. It was not a typical Fulham match. I think that they actually played down to the competition a little bit. I think when Fulham are at their best, I'm going back to they're better playing against better quality teams, and Manchester United are crap. So I think they played down to the competition. I mean, I know that sounds strange, but it was not a typical Fulham match. I think you're going to get that at St. James's Park. You're going to get the Fulham that I want to see, that I've seen against Manchester City, that I've seen against Arsenal, Chelsea. That's the team I think you're going to see. The team against Manchester United was a team that had no cutting edge, and I hope I don't see that at St. James's Park.
And so that's Emilio, you want to get in on there?
I think it had 0-0 written all over it, but I just don't think we gave Man United too much respect. I think there was a psychological fear that we always get caught out late on against Man United. So it was all about let's play a little bit more cagily, let's not give much away. And I think that played into Man United's hand because they just sat back, let us play football, and we just struggled to show enough quality and innovation there. And that was the problem. So I think we gave them too much respect. There was this psychological fear that we keep losing late on against them. And I think that played havoc. I think we went at them from the off and showed a little more aggression and more intensity.
Too much respect.
I think we gave them that victory. Again, it's one deflected shot on goal, one goal. That was all they had to show for it. So Man United are crap, but we just at home we didn't show enough intensity. We didn't want to win the game enough. And I think ultimately this goes back to my earlier point. Home form is a worry this season. We're not turning games around and winning the ones we should. So I think away from home we do play better. But Marcus Silva's got to solve this conundrum because we need to start picking up 3 points regularly at home.
Yeah.
Last question, and it goes to you, Russ. It comes from Nobby Clark. He goes, question from the guy from near Boston. Do you know Framingham? I had to work there for a few weeks a few years ago. Most mental blizzard I ever experienced at the time.
Okay, so I want to just tell this to the person with the comment. I'm from Framingham, so I'm originally from Framingham. So there you go.
Oh, right.
So I totally understand, Nobby Clark. I totally understand this, and we do get these blizzards. But what you would consider a blizzard is different for us. Maybe a couple of inches you consider a blizzard. I consider a blizzard 2 feet of snow. So I don't know if it was that. If it's 2 inches, you probably consider that a blizzard. But yes, I'm very familiar with Framingham. Grew up in Framingham, and I'm a Framingham boy. So yes, I'm glad that you spent time there. I love Framingham.
Right to reply, Nobby, in the chat. We'll put it on screen. That's it for the questions, Pete. Let's maybe go to predictions.
Well, that's it, and it's been a great show. So a massive thanks to Emilio and Russ for coming and joining us. But we're going to end up on our predictions. So look, I'm going to go Newcastle to win 3-1. I'm going to go for that 3-1 win for Newcastle United. Let's go sort of up and down. So let's go to Russ, then to Daz, then to Emilio, and then we'll end up on.
Okay, so I'm going to match you. I'm going to say 3-1 to Fulham, and I actually feel very good about this match. And I'm going to tell you why. Because more to do with Fulham than to do with Newcastle United. Because as Emilio has said, I've watched this too many times this season. teams are going to take it to Fulham, and that plays into Fulham's hands. You guys are going to take it to us, and it's going to open up huge gaps. Fulham are going to take advantage, and they're going to score more than a few goals. I actually like Fulham's chances here. I have a lot of respect for Newcastle. It's not about Newcastle. It has to do with Fulham on the road. They play very well on the road, and they usually bounce back from a crap performance. That's why I'm going with a 3-1 Fulham victory.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Confidence, huh?
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You was confident in your team as Russ is with his.
Well, I'm just thinking back to the last time we were playing Fulham and playing at the Cottage, and I was super confident then. And Claire G, it says we underestimated Fulham last time. So I'm learning from that, and I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle, home win. Let's go.
He's learned this. He's right there. Great. But Emilio, what's your prediction, mate?
Probably more sitting on the fence. I think we can get something out of this game. I think there will be goals. You know, I can see like a high-scoring 2-2 draw, to be honest with you. I think ultimately, if we get that early goal, then I don't think we'll lose the game. But again, it's, you know, Fulham got the balls in them to chase the game when you're a goal behind. That's my worry. So we keep it tight 15, 20 minutes, try to get that early, you know, maybe an early goal, and then that will settle the nerves. But, you know, Newcastle, great for run of form. You know, your attack is very dangerous. We know that. But, you know, on our day, you know, we can play. We do play better against teams that like to play football. And this is going to be an exciting game for two teams who'd like to play a good brand of football. Good for the neutrals. You know, it's not Man United. It's not, you know, these games, you know, will be attractive for the Premier League. So it's a good advertisement for the Premier League. I think there'll be goals, 2-2, but it could go either way, right? It's going to be very tight. I think there's not, weirdly, you will be obviously your favourites. Is there much between the two teams? Probably not. You know, on paper, you've got a better squad. You've got more expensive players, but ultimately the gap is not as big as it looks. So I think if we turn up and respond after that poor performance against Man United, there might be a little surprise in the bag for Fulham fans. So I'm going for 2-2.
Okay. 2-2. Okay, going for the Desmond. Chris, it's on you. What are you going for the score prediction?
Well, the reason I reacted so much, Pete, when you gave your prediction was because you said it. Sophie B put it in the chat as well, and I was thinking the exact same thing. I think it'll be 3-1 Newcastle.
Okay. So we've got a few 3-1s in the house, and we've got 1 to Fulham, 3-1, and then you got 3-1 to Newcastle. What's the bet is going to be 0-0, but hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we will get some goals. But look, it's been a great show, great preview as it always is. Emilio, massive thanks to you. Always coming and joining us. Great chat. We'll let you go off to the Fox's channel now.
Thank you very much, guys.
And Russ as well. Great to have you on for your debut. Great to chat to you. Brilliant stuff. Make sure that everyone's mute 1 second. Just I can hear myself talking. Make sure that everyone's subscribing to the channels. Of course, make sure that everyone's subscribing to Cottage Talk. Make sure that subscribing to Fulham Pulse, and as well as that, subscribing to Loaded Mag NUFC. And I've just noted we've got around 60 likes, but we've had well over 100 watching this live tonight. So let's get us up to a quick 100. On your way out, make sure you click that like. It means the world to us. And thank you for all your support as well. That is a wrap. Another match preview in the bag, lads.
Thanks very much, guys. Always a pleasure to be on. Thanks for inviting me again, and apologies for the poor internet connection in my house. I don't know what's going on at the moment, but it's
we'll go through it, Emilio. Don't worry.
We'll catch up next. All the best, guys. Enjoy the rest.
Best of luck, guys. Best of luck. Seriously, best of luck.
Take care, guys.
Here's like a loaded magpie. Good night, everyone. No, not Tonali. I change. Let's go for Tonali. Yeah, for Italian.